of our meeting. So basically I can call the meeting to order right now. So I do call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gallagher?
Here.
Commissioner Cater? Absent. Commissioner Buckley?
Here.
One
Okay.
present.
We will stand and do the pledge and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jack, since you're driving, I'm glad you didn't stand on that. I've asked Dwayne to do our invocation for us.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for many blessings around our lives. I thank you for being an amazing God that allows us to come into this meeting and hopefully we go out and do your work, Lord, that we go by your hand and by your will. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Thank you. Jack, this is this part of the meeting. Oh, I want to amend the agenda, and I would like to go to a closed meeting with closed minutes after the open meeting discussion. So, a motion?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda and we go into a closed meeting after the regular meeting for discussion of litigation.
And I second that motion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, now Jack, we're going to go into an open meeting now, and we would like you to give us a discussion on whatever you think you can discuss with us for now, and then we'll go to closed meeting for any possible litigation or whatever on that. So, Jack, you got the floor.
Okay, thanks. What I can talk about in the open meeting is the status of the two bankruptcies. We had retained bankruptcy counsel for St. Francis County and the other 22 counties that we represent. The bankruptcy by Purdue was filed in New York. The issue in the Purdue bankruptcy has always been the immunity of the Sackler family from opioid lawsuits, both from families of deceased addicts and then also from state and local entities. We filed our lawsuit, and one of our defendants was Richard Sackler and Purdue. We served Richard Sackler outside of his Florida condominium, so he was in the lawsuit. But once they filed for bankruptcy, a stay was put in place both for the company and 16 of the family members. Right there, that is very, very unique and rarely happens. What happened next was negotiation between the Sacklers, Purdue, and the states and the counties, where our bankruptcy counsel recommended to us, and we agreed to enter into the settlement with Purdue. It meant that Purdue was going to put $4 billion in, along with money from the Sackler family, into a trust. And then that money would be sent out to the states and the counties. Missouri, it was anticipated would receive about $200 million of that money. All of it would have been for abatement purposes, meaning 100% of it would to have gone to any type of opioids program. There were 9 states that objected to the granting of bankruptcy status to Purdue and immunity status to the Sacklers. They appealed it to the district court judge in New York, and she agreed with those states, reversing the bankruptcy court decision and saying the Sacklers could not have immunity. Or if they were, something more had to be done with the plan, which meant they had to put more money into the plan. So right now, I cannot tell you what is going to happen with the Purdue bankruptcy. I anticipate that it will go forward in one way or another where payments will be made. And right now, Purdue is appealing it, but they are also negotiating again with the attorney generals and the county representatives on another settlement where they'll have to give more money, more than $4 billion. I just cannot tell you when or what's going to happen, but I think at the end of the day, there will be money available. The second bankruptcy is Mallinckrodt out of St. Louis. They filed for bankruptcy in Wilmington, Delaware. We also had an attorney retained on that. That is a smaller amount of money. When I say smaller, it doesn't seem like it, but it's $1 billion that they're talking about that they would return to the states and county. The judge has not decided on that yet, and on that plan, but I anticipate he will order the bankruptcy go through probably in late February or March, at which time the state will also receive money and we'll have to negotiate with the Attorney General. Now, the rest of my presentation involves specific negotiations with the Attorney General and litigation, and I think that portion needs to go into the closed meeting portion of your agenda.
Okay, now Jack, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
On this first settlement, you said 200 million goes to Missouri. What's St. Francis County's weight in this thing?
That has not yet been figured out, Harold. What it is, makes things more complicated in Missouri is every state in the union that was a part of this, 45, was going to set up a separate abatement program, separate from their state government. And they would run the money through there as required by the bankruptcy. Missouri was not going to do it that way. Missouri has passed a law that says any money received by the state must go into general revenue and then 4 specific departments as decided by the governor. So we knew that about 200 million was going to come back, but we had not reached the stage, and what I'll talk about in the closed part, about what portion is allocated to the counties and what portion goes to the state. So I can't give you that number now. I can give you numbers regarding the distributor and J&J settlement, but I can't give you any type of allocation on the Purdue settlement.
Okay. Now, all dollars have to go toward abatement. Is that true?
Approximately 15% of the money received by the county does not have to go towards the opioid problem, but 85% does.
Okay. All right. Kerry, you have any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
From the open floor, anybody have any questions?
Give us an update on the J&J settlement.
Jay and Johnson & Johnson. We'll have a meeting from our question from our auditor. What is details on the Johnson & Johnson settlement?
Okay, I can group them together with the distributor settlement. The 3 distributors, Amerisource, Bergen, Cardinal, and McKesson, have entered into a settlement with the Attorney Generals, and then Johnson & Johnson has also entered into a settlement. The total amount of the money that put those 4 defendants together for the state of Missouri is $455 million.
To the state.
Money is payable to the state. The money is payable over 18 years. And so that's what's there. Now, the deal, both settlements are loaded with incentives and bonuses and also sticks to encourage the Attorney General to enter into an agreement with the counties and cities on the apportionment of that money. So, for example, if the Attorney General does not get the cooperation of the 100 counties that have filed lawsuits in the state, there are 114 counties, 100 of the counties have filed lawsuits, then the state will lose 46% of that $455 million, which is about $206 million. So the Attorney General is encouraged to enter into negotiations with us. Now, we have started those negotiations. We started them a year ago with the state. We had several talks with his staff. He then made an offer that the counties would get 15%, 15% of the proceeds, while the state would take 85%. Now, we went back, the plaintiff counsel for the counties went back with a counter that the counties and cities would take 60% and the state would take 40% of the proceeds. The Attorney General was upset with that position by the counties and shut down negotiations for about 3 months, beginning in August. We finally got back to the table with him 2 weeks ago in St. Louis, and we had a 7-hour meeting with the Attorney General. We have not reached a deal yet, but there's somewhat of a framework of a deal in place. And if I may, I'd like to talk about the framework. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Not now, go ahead.
Okay. Any deal that would be reached, it would be, two things would happen. Number one, any contingent contract that the plaintiff's counsel had with the county regarding the percentage that they would have taken from any amount that the county receives, that percentage is out the window. I think, Harold, was our contract 20% or 25%, something like that?
I think I bargained you down. I bargained you down.
You got me. So that amount would be out the window. We would have to then there's money set aside from the settlement up in federal court, where the St. Francis County case is right now, and we would get 6% of our fee, and then we would ask for another 9%. We're capped at 15%. Judge Polster in federal court said attorney's fees cannot rise over 15%. We'd ask for another 9% out of the total amount of the county and city share, not from the St. Francis share, but from the overall amount. That's number one. So there's a reduction on the attorney's fees. Number two, the Attorney General does not believe that the counties and cities have the infrastructure on their own, other than large metropolitan areas, to responsibly appropriate the money in response to the opioid problem. So, what they had proposed was the counties and cities would still get 15% in a direct payment to the county. Then we proposed that the remainder up to 50%, and we are still negotiating this. We have meetings in the coming weeks to get to what that number is. We do not have that number yet, but we're going to ask for up to 50% would be provided to the county, which would then turn it over to a regional commission made up of the counties in their region. The region would be determined already, it's already there, to the Department of Mental Health's treatment centers that are run by region. The region that St. Francis County would be included in would be included with counties of Iron, Washington, Crawford, Dan Phelps, Marys, and Gasconade. And St. Francis would be included in that. The way that it would be set up would be the region would have a commission with the members appointed by you, the county commissioners. A member of the commission must either have experience in drug treatment or health related to drug addiction, or law enforcement background related to interdiction or enforcement of the drug laws. Once the commission is appointed, there would be a fund set up through a court, and each year the counties would receive their allotment, that their 15% they would keep for themselves, and then turn over the rest to this commission. Then any county that had an opioid program, they would run to the commission to help to get assistance to the program. The idea here is to set up really depositories for treatment for the counties in rural areas by pooling their money. If we're talking numbers here, if St. Francis County were to receive the 15% direct payment, that would be approximately $496,000 that would be payable over the 18-year period. But remember, this is just the beginning of settlements that we are starting here. We have these 4 defendants, but I anticipate other defendants over the next year to begin settlement, mainly Endo, Teva, and then we also have the pharmacies that are involved. Although they have not started settlement talks, we anticipate that possibly could happen. Now, if you take it up to 40% for St. Francis County, I think if you take that 15 and then go up to 40, it would mean $1.9 million for St. Francis County. And if we were able to get to 50%, it would be $2.4 million. Now, if we put all of those counties together in the region, it would mean the payments would be $6 million for the region that St. Francis County is included in.
That's over 18 years, though.
That's over 18 years, that's correct. However, there would be more monies coming, possibly through Purdue, through Mallinckrodt, and then the other defendants that I mentioned. And there's other defendants that we had sued. So what we're really starting here is the structure or the mechanism of this whole settlement. We're trying to set up the method of the delivery of the funding for the counties.
Jack, we're in the process in St. Francis County of remodeling a very large closed hospital building into a needs-based hospital. It'll be primarily for homeless and drug addictions and such. This would be a perfect place for us to spend this money. And we figure in 3 years they'll be self-supporting, but they're going to have this startup money.
I talked about this with Jim Skaggs. Is this the same thing you're involved with him?
Yes. Well, they will benefit from it, but it's not part of their bailiwick.
Okay. So long as you had programming running out of that site that needed funding that was directly related to drug addiction, opioid addiction, you could use the funds for that. Yes, you would not have to spend county taxpayer money. You could use the funds either you got paid directly on or from this commission.
How do you differentiate opioid addiction to any of the other drug addictions?
You will see, your drug court does it now. They have intake formula for all of their participants, and it's identified what the addiction is.
I never thought about there's people who know more about this than I do. So.
There is, Harold, it's unbelievable, the science on this, just the instruments that they use to find out the addiction and then the treatment. The federal court, the mediator there, has developed a list of the appropriate programs that they think the money should be spent on. And that would be the number one goal, the number one priority is drug treatment. Inpatient, drug-assisted drug treatment. Second on the list is Narcan. I can send you the list.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. We're surrounded by people who know what they're talking about, so that's no problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the floor? And Jack, in the floor, we have our IT director that's running the electronics for the meeting. We have our Daily Journal reporter, who is our crime circulation newspaper here, and we have our auditor. Then we also have Linda Ballantine from the clerk's office keeping minutes, and then the two commissioners. So that's who's on the floor.
Okay.
So,
I did have one question.
we have a question from Carrie.
Jack, I was gonna ask you, in the process, we're adding on to our jail, and they actually have a mental health in or a drug treatment in the jail. Would be able to use there?
Yes, absolutely. It would be for programming. It would be a little bit more difficult as far as you would say, we want to hire this type of person. But if you hire the person and then you had a developed or a planned protocol for those that are detainees that are admitted, absolutely. That's exactly what we're finding this out in the Jefferson County litigation, that one of the biggest needs, one of the biggest opportunities for treatment are those that are arrested and then are being admitted to the jail. That's the best opportunity to diagnose them, provide them with Suboxone and other treatment drugs, and then provide them the follow-up care after they're discharged from the jail. So that's a long answer for yes, you can do that.
Mark, you have a question? Mark's our reporter.
We have a drug treatment court that works with the, it's based on the actual circuit court, which is 4 counties. And those counties, I believe, 1 or 2 are going to be different from these regional situations you're talking about. And of course, the drug treatment court is about, obviously, families, adults that are on drugs and things like that. Is that going to be, and I mean, this may be a question way too soon to ask, but is that going to be an issue where you have not really an overlap, but where you have, in a case like that, a drug treatment court? This is basically their thing in a sense, but they are not constrained by these areas you're talking about.
Our circuit is definitely a different group of counties than you named.
Yes, not
Dan?
necessarily, because again, if it's an established program and that county sees a need for it for their defendants, then yes, they can apply for it. I can see what you mean where other counties would be left out of it. But on the treatment courts, so the drug treatment courts, we have to remember a lot of them are funded by the state.
Right.
The counties, what the counties are paying for is essentially their bailiff to be there. And sir, you had just brought up that the family court, so you have a deputy juvenile officer who is on the county payroll there. So that's a county payment also. However, if the county is able to, and this is what we're hoping for this money, to come up with a separate program to assist those in those courts, that would be payable out of these funds. See what I'm saying? So it would enhance those drug court programs.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the floor? Then I make a motion that we close this, or not close this meeting, but recess this open meeting, and then while the room clears, we will approach the closed meeting. And thank you. Appreciate it. And Dwayne, I guess, Jack, you want us to shut off the filming of the closed meeting?
No, that's okay.
Close it, yeah, we'll close off the recording. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Mark.